Hello and welcome into the latest edition of the Fore-All Podcast. I'm Jesse Morrison alongside Max Bechtold. And Max, we saw the LPGA Tour return to Utah for the first time in a very, very long time this past weekend. Just first off, before we get into the who won and all that, just kind of what were your thoughts on the tournament as a whole?
Well, I think the one thing that is completely not debatable is this is potentially the most beautiful course now on the LPGA schedule. The course looked gorgeous. It looked amazing on TV. The red rocks were incredible. I mean, it reminded me, certainly, obviously, it's in the same general area of Sedona, which is where near where we live. And it just looked beautiful. Huge mountains in the background. This is a tournament that I'd really like to check out, a course that I'd really like to check out because, it looked great.
All right, and Haeran Ryu wins there, a 5-shot win. She kind of cruised in this one, and she's now become the only LPGA player to have wins in the past 3 years so far. So, what did you make of her win and just what she's doing right now?
Yeah, one stat in particular really, really sticks out to me. I had to double and triple check it just to make sure it was correct. She hit 51 out of 56 fairways for the week. That is a guaranteed recipe for success. If you are hitting the ball that straight, and she hits the ball a long ways too, and in elevation, that's just going to help. She putted pretty well this week, which is, when Haeran Ryu doesn't play well, which is very infrequently, she plays well almost every week on tour, it's because she doesn't putt very well. And this week, she just combined that elite ball striking that we're used to seeing with some very strong putting. We saw her the week before at Chevron kind of fold in the final round. She was tied for the lead. This week, she kind of just put the gas pedal on down the stretch. On the back nine, she made 3 birdies and an eagle. So just pulling away, and it was a great win for her, for really, truly one of the best players in the world and will be for years to come.
Yeah, I'm excited to see the rest of the season for her. I think that, she could definitely win a major or two this year and, contend for a lot of tournaments. I mean, I'm excited to see what she can do the rest of the season.
If I had to place a bet today, who will win LPGA Player of the Year, I'd probably place it on Haeran Ryu. Because I think she's starting to figure out the winning part. We know that she can be a great player. We know she can put together 3 phenomenal rounds. Now she's starting to figure out how to play on Sunday. I think obviously we saw the hiccup at Chevron, but that might have been a total wake-up call for her when you see what she did over in Utah.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about Sundays. You can play great the first 3 days, but if you don't play well on Sunday, then you're kind of screwed. And we've seen her at the top of leaderboards so much, just not getting that win necessarily. I mean, yes, she has won each of the last 3 years, but probably not as much as she could have.
She's been in position to win probably 8 or 9 times over the last 3 years.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that we could that she'll definitely. We always talk about momentum, and I think that she can build momentum off of this. Before we move on from this tournament, was there anything else that stuck out to you at all from this one?
Well, talking about momentum, I think we need to bring up Ronan Yin, who has had 2 runner-up finishes in a row now, really starting to round into form. It's interesting, last year, this was just right around the time she got injured at the Mizuho America's Classic last year, but this is kind of around the time when she was rounding into form a little bit. And so I think that we're going to see her continue to play really, really well. Once again, when I'm looking at players who could win Player of the Year right now, Ronan Yin is obviously off to a great start. And so I'm curious to see her moving forward. And then peeling back the curtain a little bit, the first round of the Mizuho America's Classic has been played. Esther Henseleit right back up there in the leaderboard, and she had a great week last week. Obviously didn't come away with the win, but a lot of good momentum for, I think you could argue, one of the top 2 or 3 players in the world without a win yet in their career. So just a really good leaderboard. They kind of separated themselves from the pack going into Sunday, and then that gap closed a little bit on Henseleit and Yin, but just a leaderboard that was really fun to watch, even if the total field in the event wasn't as strong.
Yeah, I want to highlight 2 players. Number 1, Rio Takeda continues to be awesome. 5th place finish, 18 under. And then Arya Jutanagarn played well again.
Yes.
So, I mean, maybe she's having a little bit of a career renaissance here.
It wouldn't surprise me. I mean, Arya, we talk about a player who just can hit the ball, I think, probably as far as anyone on tour. She doesn't carry a driver, but her driving distance stats are still really high despite that. I've always been curious on if she ever decided to try to actually start to hit driver, what her numbers would look like. But
I do not like when golfers don't carry a driver. I'm very anti not carrying a driver because I think there's just times where you need it.
No, I don't disagree, but it works for Arya for the most part, and I'd be interested to see if she can get some momentum. It's been a couple years since she's had really any kind of buzz on her career, and so I'm glad that she didn't let that brutal finish at Chevron kind of get to her, and she came back and responded well.
Yeah, I mean, it was a brutal finish and everything, but she did do better than she's been doing, so that had to give her some confidence, even though it was like a crushing loss.
One more player that I'd like to spotlight real quick is Yan Liu. Not a rookie, but kind of feels like one because this feels like the first chance that we've really seen her a lot. Finished 4th here, has been in contention, it feels like, almost every week. I believe the last 4 weeks, she has been in some kind of contention. She kind of choked away the JM Eagle a little bit on Saturday. But other than that, she's been really in it, and I'm curious to see if we're going to see her pick up that first win pretty soon because we've seen a lot of breakout wins recently. So I think she could be the next one up.
All right, let's move on now. You got the opportunity to play an LPGA course this past weekend out in Las Vegas, the Shadow Creek, where they hold the T-Mobile Match Play. Just kind of what were your thoughts on that course?
Well, first of all, Shadow Creek is a full experience, which you can usually use to describe great golf courses, but I think Shadow Creek may be more than any other. You get picked up at your hotel. They bring you to the course, and they know exactly when you're going to get there. So one of the managers is standing outside along with your caddy. They greet you at the door. They bring you in. They take you through the locker rooms. The locker room that includes lockers for former President Barack Obama, for Michael Jordan, for Derek Jeter, legends of the game like Phil Mickelson. I was assigned Phil Mickelson's locker.
That's crazy.
So it's a really cool thing. And then we had a little bit of rain, but it didn't rain at all during our round. It just kind of poured right before it. Drainage was incredible there. Felt super dry. You never felt like you were playing a course where it just poured rain. And the course is brutally difficult. This may have been the toughest golf course I've ever played in my life.
And you played St. Andrews.
St. Andrews isn't really that difficult, honestly.
But for an American, it's hard, I feel like.
Yeah, it is. It's probably honestly one of the gentler courses I played in Scotland, but because it's so short, and that's where I'm going to get to with Shadow Creek is it's incredibly long. There were 5 par 4s, I believe, over 480 yards. And I was not playing from the championship tees or the tips. I was playing normal tees. I was playing the second out of the 3 tee boxes. And they were 480-yard par 4s. It was driver, 4-iron, and then a pitching wedge in for me. The greens are very difficult. They're a little easier because it was slower. The thing that I really came away with watching it, though, is how crazy it used to be that this course was scheduled the week before the U.S. Women's Open, but still how crazy it is that this course is on the schedule in the form that it is, where it could potentially take over 5 rounds in a week to win it. And this course is a tough walking course. It is hilly. It is long. There's long distances between the greens and the tees. So hats off to these LPGA players and their caddies, maybe even more so, who are able to walk this all week and I'm not saying not get tired, but not really show just how difficult it actually is.
So 6th major for T-Mobile match play.
I mean, I love a match play major would actually be really interesting and fun.
We should. They should do that like once.
Yeah,
Just
it would be kind
turn
of fun.
one of the majors into match play for a year.
I think it'd be pretty fun. Like, I think it'd be pretty cool. I mean, but and you know, I was talking about, because we'll get to the Mizuho America's Classic, which is taking place this week. Just the quality of courses that the LPGA is playing right now. Having Shadow Creek and Liberty National both on the schedule is really, really awesome. And Shadow Creek is, I mean, we talked about, like, what's the Masters of, the LPGA. If you could, like, put an actual major there instead of having this match play event, I mean, Shadow Creek, a lot of it was kind of modeled after Augusta-style courses, and that could be kind of a cool thing to have there. Obviously, it's probably not in the cards, and I like the format as it is on that event, but it's just a really, really great sign that LPGA is playing major championship quality golf courses on regular weeks.
Yeah, and I loved the course out here in Arizona. They played out at Wild Horse Pass. I thought it was beautiful compared to some of the quote-unquote nicer courses I've seen in Arizona, which I could get into. The Arizona golf being a little bit overrated because of dead grass.
I don't disagree.
Not gonna highlight which course I'm talking about here, but I am talking about one in particular that has famous members at it.
I know which one you're talking about.
But yeah, and I played it, and I was like, this course, okay.
But you know, and we're talking about LPGA courses. Also, I forgot to even mention, because they didn't play it this year, Wilshire Country Club, which I also think is a phenomenal golf course. So there's just a lot of great golf on the LPGA tour right now, and the courses that they're going to make it really exciting, I think.
Yeah, and I'm glad you got to play that course. Hopefully, maybe I can play that course someday, but I have to get better.
Yeah,
I can't,
you probably do.
I can't play.
Gonna lie.
I need to get better at golf before I can play these courses that Max plays, because I'm just not there yet. I'm a local muni guy. That's where my game is at. So I just need to stay in my lane a little bit. But enough about our own golf careers, or whatever you want to call it. You wanted to get into, and this kind of takes us to what we're going to be doing this weekend, and you were out there actually today.
I was.
The Carlisle Women's Golf Championship, the Epson Tour, is in Arizona, so maybe the last possible weekend you can have a golf tournament in Arizona. It's going to get to 100 degrees on Sunday, and I will go out for the entire round, so stay tuned to the Twitter. I will be posting about it. But yeah, I mean, you wanted to talk about Yana Wilson winning last week, 18 years old. You think she might be the next star on this tour?
I think there's a very good chance. This was in her hometown. It was in Las Vegas. I wasn't there covering the tournament, but she won in her hometown, which is always a very cool feat. And you just look at Yana Wilson's resume already. She won the 2022 USGA U.S. Girls Junior Championship. In 2023, she won the junior portion of the Mizuho America's Open, which is being played this week, and she actually got an exemption into that event this week, which is really cool. And I think that this is a player who, like, when you look at, Alexa Pano won at, I think, 19, almost 20. I could see Yana Wilson really repeating that feat next year, potentially. And I think that it's a lot to put on a player saying the future of American women's golf, but like players like her, Zoe Campos, who's also out on the Epson Tour this year, Asterisk Tally, who's only 16 years old and has shown a lot, like these are the next generation of stars who I think in 5-6 years will be among the best players on tour, will be players who will be on Solheim Cup teams. And so it was just a really great thing to see, Yana Wilson get her first career professional win, get that off the board. I wouldn't be surprised to see her continue to play really well on the Epson Tour this year. And right now she's, I believe, sitting at number 2 in the race for the card. So she's pretty firmly in right now to take that jump to the LPGA next year, and I think that's really exciting.
Yeah, and if you didn't gather from what we're saying if this is the first time, because I don't think we've really mentioned the Epson Tour that much on this podcast. Epson Tour is like the second tier tour.
Yeah, it's
like AAA for
exactly.
LPGA golf.
What is it even called nowadays on the PGA Tour? Is it still Korn Ferry Tour?
I think it's the Korn Ferry Tour.
Yeah, it's still Korn Ferry Tour. So yeah, it's kind of like that. And right now, there's actually some really, really strong players. And as we mentioned, we're going to have a lot of coverage this week. And really, we're going to use this to kind of extend our coverage of the Epson Tour moving forward. Now we're going to have pictures of all the Epson Tour players. We're going to have talk to some of them, get to know them a little bit better. And right now, when you look, there's a few major champions in the field this week in Arizona, like Christy Kerr, and there's a couple Solheim Cup stars, Mina Kreider, Matilda Castren, Annie Park. So there's a solid little field right now this week.
I believe it's the highest purse in the Epson Tour of the season.
And honestly, I didn't know what to expect from the crowd today. Pretty good crowd out there. There were some people out there. There's a lot of hardcore golf fans out here in Arizona. There's not a whole lot to do sometimes in the summer in Arizona. Yeah. And today was a very beautiful day out there. It wasn't too hot. So it was good to see some nice crowds and some really, really good players come through.
Yeah, and I would say they've done a good job marketing this tour. I've heard ads for it and stuff. So I think they've done a really good job of marketing it, and it's like, the future stars of the LPGA. Mm-hmm. Like I think that's a really good way to, make people interested. Is like, I can say that I saw, say Nelly Korda had played on the Epson Tour. Mm-hmm. Say I saw her when she was on the Epson Tour at like 18, and now she's got 5 majors.
Yeah, the media badges for the tournament have Lilia Vu on them, and it says former Epson Tour player Lilia Vu. And it is a cool way to market. But then you look at something like Sophia Popov is out there this week. She shot 7 under. She played fantastic today. But that's a player that won a major in 2021. Is on her last year of exemptions, is really fighting to get her way back to the tour. I mean, it's kind of ironic. She can really only play in majors. Like, she doesn't have to fight to get into the majors. She has to fight to get into other tournaments. And she's had, a really up and down weird year. She's coming off of maternity leave. She had this weird situation where not even the LPGA Tour knew her status. So she went and played a couple of events and got stripped, actually, of the CME points in retrospect because she wasn't supposed to be playing in those. And then she had this weird situation. There's a long article on LPGA.com about it to go check out. She had this weird situation last week when she was trying to qualify for the event in Utah, where her caddy wasn't available for a playoff to get into it. So she's had kind of a chaotic year so far, and it's great to see her out there and playing well. And she had, I know, family out there, and she had a good, solid group following her. So stuff like that's really great to see too. You get that mix of those young stars, but also these players who have LPGA experience who are really grinding to try to get back on.
Yeah, it's honestly exactly like AAA baseball, because if you live in a town with a AAA baseball team, you'll have maybe the top prospect in the organization playing, but also a 35-year-old that won 2 Gold Gloves 8 years ago and is trying to get back into the big leagues like that. I think you can enjoy it like you enjoy your local minor league team. It's not going to be the top players in the world, but it's going to include some players that might have been at one time, and then some future stars.
And you look at, I mentioned Christy Kerr's playing in this. She's local to Scottsdale, doesn't really play on the Epson Tour, but she might just be getting her game into form out there, and it's great to see. It's kind of like when you see those highlights of Jacob deGrom pitching against a AAA team. It's
rehab start.
Exactly, and Christy Kerr's a player who isn't going to make the LPGA Hall of Fame, but she had a Hall of Fame career path for almost her entire tenure on the LPGA Tour, and so it's great that now people get the opportunity. She was a name that was one of the probably 2 or 3 most popular names in certainly American women's golf 10, 15 years ago. So it's great to see her out there also supporting this tournament.
All right, let's wrap up here with the Mizuho Americas Open going on right now at Liberty National. As you mentioned, Gino Titakun leads at 444 Pacific time on Thursday.
I believe the first round is done, so we can say at the end of the first round.
Yep. End of the first round. Celine Boudier is in second, and you have some takes on this tournament.
I do. I think it is time for the LPGA. You know, all of the talk about the Players' Championship on the PGA Tour being the fifth major. That's just something they made up for marketing purposes. But it really does feel like that now. It feels like that's almost akin to winning a major championship. You have the best field in golf. You've got an iconic golf course. I think that it's time for the LPGA to try to start marketing this a little bit more, maybe as the sixth major. I think that this is, in just 2 years, you look at the winners. Rose Zhang winning her first career professional event in her first professional start, like super iconic moment in women's golf history, honestly. And then you had Nelly Korda last year, who wasn't on her streak anymore, but kind of took 1 week off and then came back and won, and that was a huge moment. So you're looking at like really great, and the junior aspect of it also, where juniors are playing at the same time as the pros, I think is great. This is like where we first heard the name Asterisk Tally, who now looks like a future star. It's where Yana Wilson really broke out on a national level. You're creating superstars in this event, and I think it's terrifically run by Michelle Wee West. It's on a great venue. The skyline of New York City is in full view at all times.
Awesome.
It's incredible to watch. They take a ferry over from the city to,
so cool.
Like, that's how they get to the course. I think it's time for the LPGA to really put their branding muscles behind this event. Make sure that you have an amazing, phenomenal field. I wouldn't even mind seeing the field cut down a little bit to really kind of juice the leaderboards up a little bit. And I think, if we get Gino Tidikun winning this year, it's like you just look at the resume of the winners, and it's incredible. So I think that it's time for Golf Channel to start giving this tournament more hours, for the LPGA to start really, really putting this thing front and center, because I think it's a great event. I think it's one of the best on the tour.
I'm fine with it being the sixth major in quotes. I don't want it to be an actual sixth major.
No, I don't either.
I think there should be 5 majors max.
Yes,
personally,
I completely agree. My pitch would be to try to make this the LPGA Tour's equivalent to the Players.
Yeah, I like that for sure. Some other names that are high in the leaderboard that are prominent. Haeran Ryu is tied for 4th. Jennifer Kupcho tied for 4th as well. Yulimi No tied for 4th. Carlota Saganda tied for 4th. And then we've got Lauren Coughlin and Nelly Korda down there tied for 14th.
Lydia Ko and Hannah Green both had solid rounds still in it.
Yep.
A lot of Australians at the top of the leaderboard. This could age horribly by the time this comes out, but you got Minji Lee, Stephanie Kiriakou, Gabby Ruffles, Grace Kim, and Hannah Green all in the top 25.
So I guess I'll just ask you,
and Haeran Ryu also in the top 25.
Who do you think will end up pulling it out from this kind of group that we're seeing here?
It's hard when Gino Tidikun has a 2-stroke advantage over everybody heading into Friday not to pick her. But I still think, I said before the tournament, I think this is Nelly's week. Putter looked pretty good today. I think she got off to a solid start. I wasn't able, they weren't on TV yet, for her 2 bogeys on the front 9, so I don't know exactly how those came about. But I'm not too worried about it. 4 strokes is a reasonable gap to close. But I'm also looking at a player like Andrea Lee, who has had a really, really quiet season to start, and I think is going to be a player who will probably be a borderline, one of those fringe players for Solheim Cup next year. And I think she can really start to kind of put together her next Solheim Cup resume with a really nice finish this week and kind of move forward with that.
I'm going to go Haeran Ryu. I think she continues her momentum. I like to go with the momentum pick usually, even though it doesn't always work out. But I like to go with the momentum pick.
I would not be shocked if she shoots like 9 under tomorrow.
Yeah, so I think she'll probably win, and then I'm going to say Nelly as well because of the putter change. I think the putter change kind of changed things entirely for her. Like,
I think it just gave her a good vibe too.
Yeah, good vibes for sure. But it just seemed like she was just putting completely
She
differently.
was.
So
Yeah.
I think she's kind of back. I guess if we want to say that
Yeah,
the number one player in the world is back.
Yeah, it's all just so relative with her. She's having a really, really nice season. If she was anybody but Nelly Corda, it's just her expectations are rightfully incredibly high.
Wins. She's got to get wins.
She got to get wins. I agree.
Multiple wins a season, I think.
I think if she has less than 2 wins moving forward in any of the next couple seasons, if she has less than 2 wins in a season, that will be a disappointment.
Yeah. So, I mean, she's got to win soon, and I think this is a good week for her to do so. And I think she's kind of in the position where she's got them right where they want them. 4 under after the first day, four shots back. Then she'll make a charge Friday, Saturday.
And that's the thing is, like, when she was on her streak last year, she wasn't necessarily coming out of the gates really strong. She was just, she had a solid first round, kept it within striking distance, and then just chipped away kind of. And I could see that happening here as well.
And that seems like, kind of the way to win golf tournaments. A lot of times when the player that jumps out first doesn't always win.
We just saw the Kentucky Derby, and that's like obviously like a big cliche in horse racing is the first one out of the gate rarely wins.
Yeah.
So I kind of just think that, getting a few strokes back, and then you can play aggressive on the weekend when you really need to make up strokes. So instead of playing, more conservative golf. I think she's in solid position to make a run at this.
All right, so as we mentioned, we will have a lot of coverage of this week's Epsom Tour event, the Carlisle Women's Golf Championship, I believe is how you pronounce that, or just what the tournament's called.
Yeah.
But other content that's going to be on the site this week.
Keep subscribing to the newsletter. This week I kind of went on a little rant, and I won't go on the rant this week on the podcast, but you mentioned to me that you turned on the tournament and it was already kind of over.
Yep.
Full disclosure. And, this last week was a really, really rough week for TV times. They got relegated to CNBC one day. One of the days, none of the tournament was live on TV. Another day, only about an hour of it was. Really, really rough week for TV coverage this week.
And it wasn't like they were going up against like the biggest PGA
event,
but
that was the issue. Is the PGA Tour had a lot of weather delays that kind of booted the LPGA off of TV, and so I went on a little bit of a rant on some of that. So that's the kind of stuff that you can expect in the newsletter. It's a lot more opinion based articles, and so go check that out. And also just a lot of coverage of the Epsom Tour this week. Obviously, photos now of the Epsom Tour players, which is great. This looks like it's going to be a great event with a really good leaderboard. So if you want to learn a little bit more about the future stars of the LPGA, continue to stay locked into Fore-All.com. And, of course, we're going to cover the Mizuho America's Classic also. So
yeah, and if you're out in Arizona, if you listen to us from Arizona, go out to the
it's a
tournament.
Great vibe, and it's in
TBC Scottsdale too.
Yeah,
come on.
I was just gonna say, thankfully they put it in the middle of town, as opposed to like the LPGA events where they send you like 45
Wild
minutes
Horse
outside.
Pass.
And that was the
I like Wild Horse Pass.
I do too, but that was the closest event that they've had in the last 3 years here.
Yeah.
And so I'm very glad that this is being put in the middle of town. So yeah, go check it out. It's a good event. I've been meeting with some of the folks from the Epsom Tour. They're awesome people who are trying to put on a really good event. So go support that.
Yeah. And stay tuned next week as we will have full recap of that and the Mizuho. And go to the website, which is Fore-All.com, Fore-all.com. And we will talk to you later.